Welcome to Mom Boss Chronicles, the show that celebrates the incredible journey of mom bosses who are conquering the world of business and motherhood. We are your hosts, Jen,
Danielle,
and Sue.
Make sure to like and subscribe and share with your mom friends today. Welcome back, everyone, to Mom Boss Chronicles. Today, we have a really special guest, Lena Suarez Angelino. She is a licensed social worker and also an owner of Light Collective Co. and a super mom.
Thank you. Thank you.
Super mom.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for having me here and for all of our listeners tuning in. I'm really excited for our conversation today. I'm sure, going to cover a lot and many more episodes to come. So
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you. So how long have you been a licensed social worker?
I have been in the social work field since 2016 when I graduated from Monmouth University. So shout out to Monmouth. And right down the street.
Yeah.
But I graduated in 2016 and then I opened up my private practice in 2019.
Wow.
And then Light Collective & Co. was founded in 2021.
Wow, you've been busy.
I've been busy.
I love to hear that. You hit the ground running.
Yeah.
But
I think it was kind of out of desperation too I was burning out. I wasn't really feeling like I was getting a lot of support when I was working in community mental health, right? There's a lot of high caseloads. Right after. So when I first graduated, I was already working in the partial care unit and then they hired me full time, so after my internship, which I was blessed and very grateful for, gave me a lot of experience, working with individuals with schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, really, really like severe, tough diagnoses. And, but that was all group work. So it was kind of like you never had the moment you're turning into the parking lot, like that's when your shift starts.
Yeah.
Like they're, outside and hanging out. So
Right.
then I transitioned. I never know how to do one thing at a time, right? So right when I was being offered to go over to outpatient, that's also when I found out I was pregnant, but it was kind of like a blessing in disguise because then my schedule was a little bit easier to manage because then it was just like single caseload versus, coverage for groups and things like that. Then it was like, okay, then it was like a lot of high caseload. And so then I was like, all right. So then that's where, started to make a little bit more transition into my private practice and, just
That was
taking
a big
it from
leap.
there.
Was that
Big leap.
scary?
It was definitely scary, but I also felt like for my own mental health, like I noticed my quality of care for my clients and my patients was declining.
Yep.
And, then I wasn't really being present with my family at home and, becoming
You were in
resentful.
tune.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
You're like, how can I help others if I'm not myself?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And trust me, it's still a journey. Like it's,
course.
I feel like every season you start to
Being
adjust.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
It's something new every day, right?
Right.
But I give you so much credit for taking that leap because it is scary, but you do it for yourself and you do it for your family.
Yep.
And it seems like things are going well.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. Thank you.
and there's such a I was just going to say there's such a lack of quality therapists, I feel like, or just in general. So that's great that you're doing that.
Yeah. And we're facing that now too, like trying to just get more resources. I don't know if some of you know that I have a child with special needs. And so, navigating, and he also has mobility delays. And so, it's not only just a child who might have autism, and not saying that raising a child with autism is easy in comparison, but sometimes when kids can walk, things are a lot more inclusive.
Of course.
And so now I'm lifting 70, 80 pounds on a daily basis and navigating and fighting with the system and fighting with insurance and, just navigating all that. And I'm like, please stop just like giving me a list of resources and thinking you're doing your job.
Yeah.
You're not. Like I need more.
You're creating more work for me.
Right. Like I feel, I described it earlier today. Like I feel like I do dizzy bat every time I talk to them. And then they're like, now pick a direction to go in. And I'm like, well, I am still just as overwhelmed and now I'm angry and emotional too.
How
So
old
on
is your
top of it,
child?
he's 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in the middle of all this, like you said, you had a baby. So
Yeah.
you're having your company and then having a child with special needs adds a whole nother layer. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, doing more than one thing at once.
Yeah.
Like, definitely
Just out of
balancing.
curiosity, I mean, do you have someone you talk to? I mean, you have a
I
lot
do.
going on. Okay, good.
Yep, that's who I described it to my therapist this morning. I was like, I
Yes.
feel like I'm doing dizzy bat. Like I feel like I'm, and he's really great because he really understands the entrepreneurial side of just like burnout and stress and overwhelm and navigating all of that. But then also he has a child who also has like special needs
That's
and
amazing.
autism,
So you
and so
really feel
he can
heard.
really
Right.
empathize and relate to all of that. So and just being able to hold that space to
Oh
really
my gosh,
unload.
there's strength and
Yeah.
you need that support system. And if someone's
Yep,
going
me
through
too.
something similar, it helps, you know, helps you for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure feel validated, be heard.
And that was a big part or a big motivation for why I wanted to build out my Facebook group, which Central Jersey Special Needs Community.
When did you do that?
July of last year, and we're almost at 1,000 members in less than a year, which is so exciting. And it's available for caregivers, parents, and providers. So I wanted to really bridge that gap and create familiar faces and help parents and caregivers become aware of what resources are available, build relationships with those providers, and then also for the providers to really hear and understand the needs of the family. You know, we're advocating, and you know, you don't know what you don't know, or if it's not your world, not that you don't care about it, but it doesn't impact. It's not in your face every day.
You don't know. Right.
No.
Yep.
And so like our big advocacy right now is I would like more full-size changing tables in the bathroom. You know, like that doesn't hurt anybody. It's not in the way.
Think of.
Right. Right. And
Right,
so
'cause
like
they only are for
they're up to 50 pounds if you're lucky, you know? And so but that's something that we really would like and we really need. And again, it's not something, I also would love more accessible push buttons, but for a child a child who elopes or runs away frequently, that's like your biggest nightmare.
Yeah.
And you put them too high, the kids who do elope chances are taller and can still hit the button.
Right.
And then they're inaccessible to people who are using wheelchairs and, and just, shorter people. And so it's like, okay, well, I live in the reality of we're not going to be 100% accessible 100% of the time to everybody, right? Because we all, even all of us in the room right now don't have, we all have different needs.
Yes.
And so, but it's like a full-size changing table is not hurting anybody by existing there.
Absolutely
but it
not.
makes the ones who need it so much better.
Yeah.
Even like our children's hospital, I'm like, you need more of them. Why are they like in two bathrooms and that's it
pretty
throughout
crazy.
the whole hospital? You
Right.
know, or I've taken him to it's a pool that's attached to a school that goes to 3 to 21 for developmental disabilities, and they don't have full-size changing tables. I said, of all places,
Right.
Yeah,
of all
really.
places, I would have, but because I said something, they're ordering them. So it's like I'm really trying to make more advocating, right? And so even accessible play. Don't think you throw a ramp into a playground and now you've made it accessible and inclusive. That's not interabled play. That's not a play where it makes my heart. Like it breaks when I see it not be that, but then it makes it feel so full when I'm on a playground where there's a ramp, so I can bring him up in his stroller or bring him up. We're waiting on a wheelchair, but then I have a kid who we just met. Right now, I'm getting to make friends at a playground, and the kid's like, we want him to come see me on the monkey bars, and we wheel him up the ramp and we cheer him on. And like that is what inclusivity is. That's what interabled play is. It's not let's put the accessible parts over here while everything else is over here.
Right.
Like what message are we sending to our peers?
But and to hear that there are that are children who are including, oh my God,
That's
my
beautiful.
heart.
It warms my heart every single time, and I explain, like, sometimes he might pull your hair if you get too close. He doesn't know, and sometimes they'll be like, oh, well, I'm staying away, because it hurts, listen, it hurts. So
Sure.
But it's just really, really cool to see the organic interest, and you can also see the confusion too, because they're like, is he a baby? Because right, like their C's in a stroller, he's not walking, so in like black and white context of brain development, it's like, oh yeah, he does have more baby features than he does a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And so, navigating that, but it's just all about education.
Yes.
It's about creating that conversation.
Yeah.
And it's about creating more spaces for that too.
Yeah.
So
Your son is so lucky to have you advocating for
right?
him. And your
That's amazing.
outlook. I mean, there are some parents out there who could sit and turn, why me? Why am I dealing with this? How and be negative and depressed about it. And you're like, no, we got this. We're fighting for it. We're going to
moving
make
forward.
it happen. Like you are forging a path for other parents. I hope you make sure you tap yourself on the shoulder.
we
for
are.
that.
And the fact that you have the Facebook community, how awesome. And you guys could talk about, like, I guess, certain playgrounds to go to or things that are good or different resources or.
That is so great.
Even like I asked, I said, okay, we're sizing out a size 7 diapers. What's your like next step?
I love that. And they can chime in.
And they can chime in. And so I purposely have it designed where there's community chats in the group where it's, early ages, then you have your elementary school age, your middle schoolers, your high, adolescent ages, because then now it's navigating periods and it's navigating hormone, the hormone, because they still go through all those hormonal changes. And even if cognitively they're not there, their bodies might still be developing. And I was just learning from another mom at our school her child started her period at 4 because of all the like medications and things. And they ended up delaying it and started to do like hormone treatment to delay the period. But it was just like, but then they took her off of that at 9, and so it's just, you don't know. And I have a friend whose son is climbing out of the crib all the time. And she's like, that's not our world, but I can empathize. And then, so kind of creating more hive minds. And I think this generation of parents, we're tired of just adapting to the rest of the world. And we're like, nuh-uh, we're not standing for it. Like we're challenging it.
Right.
So I'm challenging our
And that's the
township.
power of social media.
Yes.
Through social media, you have this community. That's the benefit.
You're a
That's
disruptor, you have to be. You have to be like, that's how
power
change
numbers.
happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's truly like this ignorance that we all like. I would never would have thought of these full size changing tables because it's not my world.
Right.
But that's
makes sense. Yeah, it doesn't harm anybody. It
doesn't harm anybody.
It should be a law.
Yeah.
So
listen, when you start seeing
handicap parking spots,
Zach Law out there.
Yeah.
it should be. I mean, how much bigger could it? Be? It's on the wall.
Right. Exactly. See, so sign my petition. We're starting right now.
I'll sign right now. Just tell me.
But it's so true, and that again, that's the biggest part of it is just knowing. And I have like daily posts where on Tuesdays we talk about like Hard Truth Tuesdays because I wanted to be very intentional of not creating a space where we are all just doing a woe is me. This is so hard, but it's also being able to acknowledge that, and that's a big motivation as to why I want to do more with the community and use my profession, use my background in mental health, my expertise in burnout to really be a support for the family or for caregivers, but then also I need that support too. So it's like, you also know my story, and I'm not just sitting there as a professional saying, oh, I understand.
Yeah, just speaking for,
right? Just to speak, just to, for that hour and then think I did something, and so really wanting to put together more. I'm building out like functional movement and caregiver peer support programs because, again, I'm lifting 70, 80 pounds, and it's also open to caregivers of adult children who have their parents that they're taking care of, parents that have Alzheimer's, dementia, maybe they broke a bone, whatever the case may be. You're not preparing your bodies for 150 to 300 pounds of dead weight because once they're, they're all just like dead weight. So, really navigating that and creating awareness about that and creating that safe space. And I'm blessed that I have that background. I have the credentials to be able to provide that support, but in a way that feels sustainable for me. So that was one of the biggest things of
You're
why.
You're thinking ahead. You're
trying
thinking 2 steps ahead.
That's amazing.
I love that.
Trying.
Like somebody needs to.
Yeah.
It's so great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, and obviously, as a parent of special needs, they need even like mental health support. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and because I love my one-on-one stuff. I love doing individual therapy, and I love doing even individual Reiki or group Reiki. But I have to be very intentional with my time, or trying to get more intentional with my time, because we were in the pool for 90 minutes yesterday working on, core stuff and working out because I want to be present for him.
Yeah,
so it's like the more you only have so many hours in the day, and then especially after school, I want to work. My ideal is like 11 to 3, right? Like I get to do my CrossFit in the morning, get my training in, then, after the school drop off, right? Then it's CrossFit, then it's work. And then, then I get to work with him after, and then I get to be mom. So, so we're taking little baby steps there.
Yeah, of course. That's good. I'm happy to hear you take time for yourself to do things that fulfill you as well. You have to.
Have to. It's a necessity.
Do you have other children, or?
I have a stepdaughter who's 17, so she is in her competitive cheerleader era and graduating the. She got her aerial too. I first said, I was like, "You got your like hands-free cartwheel." I said, "I think it's an aerial." Like,
that's really cool.
And we were shocked. So and she lives primarily with mom, and so she's applying for college, or she did apply for colleges, and so she's moving out of state, and so gearing up for all of that. But she's been really great with us, and of course, just getting caught up in like the teenage world of, friends and with being in cheer, she's in a really competitive gym. So, just giving her that space to do what she needs to do at this time. At that time, I needed that space too. So exploring
very
that. But she always
impressionable
asks.
times in our lives where we need that independence. Because when you're 17,
you know everything.
Everything.
I have a teenage stepson too, so son, not daughter, but
the balance of
yes,
not argue with them about it. Like, sure, you don't.
Yeah, you got it, right? And now I'm like talking to people. I'm like, no one warns you that adulthood is like it's just never ending now. Like, this is it. Like,
you're
this is
so eager to grow up. I remember always I was like so eager to grow up and be an adult.
Yeah.
And now the world is on your
Michael's like, I'm gonna be 6 next month. And I'm like, dude, I'm telling you right now, just pump the brakes. I'm like, I promise you.
Peter Pan was onto something.
Yes.
Absolutely. 100%.
So you do burnout and stress management too.
I do. Yeah.
And that's huge as moms, working moms.
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of it.
And my brain works in acronyms a lot. So like that's how I just like remember stuff. So light, collective, light is a reminder to let it go here today, just as like just like a just like breathe, be present, don't carry it all. Because it's like emotionally taxing, or you're constantly having this running to-do list of all the things that you need to get done. It's still running, like you know.
Yeah.
And so that's just that reminder. And then one of the strategies that I really like is SOS redefined, and it's just SOS is simplify, optimize, and support. So talking about those support networks, talking about just remembering to zoom out and like look at that bigger picture of like why you started the things, right? So if I catch myself getting caught up in doing more individualized support in the special needs community, or doing more, and I'm like, oh, that's backtracking. Even with the Reiki, like the individualized Reiki is not helping me clear up my schedule, but I can offer groups, I can offer, and I'm open to those individuals, but it's like I have to be mindful.
Yeah,
so like keeping that simple, right?
Yes.
Right. And then optimization, it's like I used to run up and down my stairs like 4, 5, 7 times, before it was like 7 a.m. getting us ready for school because I forgot this.
Yes, oh my God.
And I'm like already sweating.
Like,
I want a ranch all the time, and so just like running, and I was like, hold on.
How do I make
There's
this
a better
easier?
system. Yeah. And yes, I'm sure other people listening, or, they would say, oh, just do everything the night before. And I'm like, I'm not there yet. Like, I'm not, I'm already too exhausted by that time. So I'm just like, I just get myself dressed before I leave my bedroom and make sure I have all my things. And so it's really cut down. I still sometimes have to run up, but because I'm human, but at least then I can really like optimize that time or optimize those processes, when I get to a position where I can delegate better. Cause I hired for a little bit, and then I realized I hired almost too soon. So where I didn't know how to properly delegate. So it didn't really help me the way I needed it to. Or I hired maybe the wrong type of work, like a VA versus, like a copywriter to get all my stuff organized.
Right.
And I think I was still evolving at that time too, of really finding, but now I really feel like I found my place in the world of where, again, that bridging the advocacy for the special needs community, but being able to provide that support in that mental health space in a way that feels really good for me and feels meaningful in a way. Because of course I still care about all my individual clients, but when I'm hearing your stuff versus what I gotta face in the next hour, I'm like, all right.
Or you're still able to help people. So it's not like you're like, I don't want to help people who are going through it. I just want to help in a different way. This is what I can give.
Right.
I can give this in this moment. And I love that you're honoring yourself.
Yes.
Because you could force yourself.
Yes, I absolutely could.
Right. And people do that.
That's soul sucking shit.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Yeah.
And then you get resentful. You get burnt out.
Yeah.
And I'm also someone who I can't just do one type of thing all the time. I think that's my baseline or common denominator to what burns me out. Is the monotony, right?
Yeah.
The same thing
Yeah.
over and over and over again. It's just so I
feel
like
the
to
same.
have that
Yeah, for
flexibility. You might have your structure, but then you have that flexibility to move throughout. So that's what Light Collective gets me to do.
Yeah, for sure.
I really love the Facebook group and how you probably have so much support from other women and they're getting that as well. It's sort of we've talked about postpartum and the group they have for that, and just having the camaraderie of other women, I think is so powerful.
Yeah.
And moms, because let's be honest.
There's that unspoken, responsibility for everything.
Right,
So,
exactly. So I think that's huge, and how amazing that you are providing that for people.
Yeah. And I'm super blessed and humbled, every time we drop him off at school and, we get to meet other parents and hear their stories and what's going on. And then also I have a really great support system with his dad, and, we live together and, we have a great relationship. But even with support, it's still hard. It's still, you're still looking for that space. You're still looking for that community. And so being able to lean on things and being able to say, if I have to cancel last minute, you get it. Or you try and, I deliberately tried to make it more Central Jersey so that because I didn't want to have to drive 20 to 30 to an hour away in case we can participate, and so just really trying to make things more accessible and hopefully branching out.
Yeah.
And, the vision is pop-ups throughout the state so that we can make it more accessible. And then we get to build those communities throughout.
I love that.
And then people have places to go.
Yeah. You're creating the model.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
One block at a time.
One block at a time. Yep.
Without like going and burning again, the burnout. I feel like other people don't listen to their intuition when they're burned out. Like,
and sometimes my alarm bells could be a lot better too. I think sometimes because my partner's always like, "Go sleep, take a nap."
We're just so hard on ourselves.
Yeah,
we are because
right?
we see what the vision is, and the vision keeps us all the way up
but
here.
I still have this, and like it's okay.
It's okay.
Day. It's not crucial. Like
break.
It's not hurting anybody. No one's gonna die.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It's all good.
Exactly.
When we met you had the workbook. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So I published that was a 2022 project as well. I got approached by a publisher to write an anger management workball for moms, which was super fun. Yeah. That was like light speed publication too. That was I have some in my car. But it was a really, really, really great project, a really great opportunity. And so, just being able to, it's designed in 8 chapters. And so each chapter has a couple journal prompts to start thinking about, it has a case study about a mom and then, some educational information about that particular topic. Some of them are like identifying your anger triggers or managing all emotions, right? Because anger a lot of the times is going to be that secondary emotion. And so it's like, okay, am I feeling lonely or am I feeling unsupported? Am I feeling resentful? Like what are those other feelings? Anxious, am I worried and scared about the future? Whatever it is. And so being able to identify what those are. And then you have a couple journal entries and you have some information, but then you also have other like little activities that you can do outside of the workbook, and then of course there's activities inside the workbook as well. So it was really fun. And it's really pretty. It's like really, if you remember what it looked like, it was like watercolors and
I
like the title.
I'm here
for it.
Yeah. I find myself at my breaking point where I scream, yell, get angry. I'm like,
and then the mom guilt, and then cue the mom guilt, right?
Yes, totally. I've heard this saying from a few different people, and they say when you are feeling really angry like that, look at your child's hands and how small they are, and
that's a good
I just get chills. I love it.
Yeah. And then think like their little hands and that they're not, their brains are so little too. They're not fully developed. So they don't get it,
Yesterday, Michael knocked his ketchup over and it went all over the place. And my initial was reaction was anger. And I was like, I'm so sorry. It's not you. It's not you. It's not you. It's not you. It's me. I have to work on me, And so I'm trying to.
Extreme ownership, right?
Yes.
Our thing.
Yeah. And then you're like, why was I so fucking mad over ketchup? But then in the moment, you're like,
it's like, who cares? It's clean it up, right? But at that moment,
it happens to all of us.
It does. Even myself, even though I've written the workbook, I still
creeps in.
Let me like that balancing of those emotions of advocating for Zach and advocating for the special needs and disabled communities and I'm like because there's so many emotions that you're trying to manage while also balancing the logistics of the policy change and I'm like it's not a one-man show and that's why for the group it's together we're building a village and because we really it really does take that village and finding and it's okay to be a part of multiple villages too this is a village where I would probably come as a mom, but then also as that entrepreneurial side of saying hey, what have you found to work out in your business? Yeah. What have you found, who can you recommend? And, can you help me with this? And it makes it just so much more knowing you can lean on people.
Oh, for
sure. is huge. Yeah. But I think that first step in not only you have to kind of recognize that you're feeling burnt out, but also being okay with asking for help. Yes. Also being okay, not knee jerking and saying no, I got it. It's okay. Not rushing.
I do that all the time. I'm I'll just do everything. And a control freak.
It's not sustainable. And I tell my parents all the time, bedtime might not look like how you do bedtime, but are the kids getting to bed? Yes, and that's okay. That's and so allowing partners to be involved a lot more, and do we have to be a little bit more detailed sometimes? Yeah. And sometimes I need the detailed structure of what the expectation is. And so just kind of improving that communication and, again, even just communication among friends and say, because I think we all tend to work in silos. We all tend to struggle on our own and, act like everything's okay. Or we don't want to be that Debbie Downer and bring the mood down. And it's
open up about what's really going on.
Right. Yeah. And you'll learn over time the people you can open up, what topics you can open up to about with certain people. Yeah. And, I have a couple friends that that they don't have kids, so like they'll kind of give me kind of like the blanket things, but it's not relatable to them, and I respect that too,
right?
But I can go to them about other things, right? So
that's I was going to ask you, so how. You seem like extremely emotionally intelligent. It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, many people aren't so in tune, and it's incredible.
It's the Cancer properties.
Oh, she loves that. Yeah, Sue loves that.
Should have known.
Yeah. So my question is, do you find it, since having your son, find it a little harder to maybe socialize with mothers who don't have children with special needs, and just hearing them like, I don't know if they're complaining about their weight or whatever, and like I feel like you'd be, it might be just like you were saying, and you know, treating people in therapy, you're like, oh, you have such fucking problems. It's like,
you're like,
oh, I wish.
Right.
Yes and no. Like I think I stay grounded in the thought of like they don't know what they don't know, and like they don't know that isn't their reality. So like they're not, those are, and so being able to tap into that empathy of like, this is their problem, this is a problem for them, or this is what they're identifying. And so, recognizing that and saying, but also allowing and creating opportunity to allow for that inter-able play, for allowing, I love when I watch my friends' daughters like bring over their toys to him, and or like really they're like, I want to watch my iPad, but like, does Zach have his iPad too? Let's watch iPads together. So and like and so it's, I think, creating more of that opportunity too, rather than just isolating him from kids who are neurotypical and developing. And so, and then they also, a lot of the times, there's siblings that exist too. So like really there's a quote, like, if you want to know how to like treat a child with special needs, watch how their siblings treat them, because they're with them all the time. And so, and so just, it's just really cool to see. But it sometimes I'm like, I wish I had to like move all my furniture. And I wish I had to like, because that meant he was walking. Or I remember being excited when we were on vacation and he was making his way over to the outlets. Like I don't travel with like outlet protectors, so I like stuck like a panty liner like on the wall. But I was like, listen, innovative, like
very innovative. I would not have thought of that.
Yeah, because I was like, I need something flush enough that he would like. And I was shocked that I still had one on me. I was like, all right, this works. But flush enough that he wouldn't be able to like chip it away and like peel it. And be noticeable for him, but still like protective enough where, but I was like, that means he's moving. Right? That means he's like making movements on the floor.
It's a good problem.
It's a good problem. So I think anytime that there is like I'm excited for the day that like he colors all over the wall. Yeah. And that means he wasn't chewing the crayon, like, or throwing it. So
changing your perspective.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Come on.
So
how did you get into Reiki?
Throughout the pandemic, I feel like I was doing like 9 to 9, like just like working in, again, all in an individual.
How old was your child at this point?
20, so about 3. Wow. So we were, or like maybe like 2 going into 3.
Wow, that's hard.
Yeah.
In itself.
Yeah. So because we had some virtual school. So I think that summer he was going into like the pre-K schooling program. And so, it was just, I had already had a hybrid model in my practice. So the like getting online and like the virtual was really, really fine. But then I was noticing like how burnt out I was. And it was the same conversation, but at a different face every hour. Like it was because throughout the pandemic, it was, we all had all those uncertainties. And I think we still have those uncertainties at some point. And so it was like, I know this is really scary, right? And but like, I can't also reassure you that everything's going to be okay, because I really don't know. And, and I'm what helps me balance even that aspect, and I'll get to Reiki in a second, is, just like I still show up as like my authentic self to my clients. So like, even though like they all know, like I'm like, listen, a 732 number's calling, like it might be, I've been making a bunch of phone calls about Zach. Give me 2 seconds just to touch base. Because then otherwise it's phone tag because, it's trying. So like, they're all really respectful and I appreciate it. I get back to them, 2 minutes later and, but they also understand like where I'm coming from.
Awesome.
Why? Because I see a lot of moms and I'm human. So they all really understand or, if I have to switch schedule. And so, but during the pandemic, I didn't have that like wiggle room. Of rescheduling. I didn't have really any kind of like source of outlet because it was like, I don't know. And so I started talking to like spiritual coaches, and I started to just, because I was raised Catholic and I still have that belief in God, but I was like, I feel like God's more, it's bigger. Like it's more, I always had that sense of like more of a spiritual belief of things. And so I was just looking for something more, and I wanted more guidance on like what to read or what to do. And so I started with, reading some, because I didn't want to just like read the Bible. Like I knew but I was like, that's not giving me what I think my soul is looking for. And so then there's nothing wrong with that. And there's, I encourage people, if they want to read the Bible, read it. Absolutely. But I knew there was more out there that I could do.
For you,
so for me,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
One of my teachers at the time, I was already occasionally receiving Reiki from her, and that might have been when I had started. And then eventually she had put out classes to get attuned, and so that's when I really was seeing. And it when I do Reiki on someone else, like it forces me to be more present, to be more mindful, and taking that time. So it's just been really cool to be able to hold that space, and then also be able to hold that space to process. So Reiki, the getting attuned, I think didn't happen until maybe 23. I don't know. I feel like the timelines all start to blur together, and things happen very quickly too. And I don't know if any of you follow human design or any of our listeners, but I'm a manifesting generator, so like I follow what lights me up, and like that's how the flow and that's how the success happens. But and I think that's also why I get like bored easily, or I'm like I need to change.
But I feel like knowing your human design is awesome, because then you're living a more authentic self.
Yeah. So that was just something that always felt like it really helped to ground me, really helped to just be okay and like be present and feel the Reiki. And so being able to move that energy. So I receive Reiki, and then I give Reiki as well. So it's really, really awesome.
It's so cool.
Do you notice a difference, like for yourself?
I do. I do. Yeah. I think a lot of therapists will have a lot of like problems with their throat chakra, because in sessions we can't, as much as I show up authentically, you can't also say like, we'll get over it. Like, or like you can't, you have to hold back a little. So, you can challenge and, better words, but so being able to like make sure like I'm monitoring my throat chakra, or like if there's any like imposter syndrome coming up, like that's a lot of like gut and like solar plexus stuff. And so it's just really cool to be able to check in your power. Exactly.
That's like one of the things that so us Tauruses are known to be tactless, and I've maybe I'm just very honest.
I don't think you're
gonna say it.
I just whatever, but like that's one of the things. Like I'm like, say truthful, tactful things.
Yep.
Gotta work on it.
And we're all a work in progress. We're all we all have things that we can work on. I'm still continuing to work on so many things, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, it's self-compassion. At the end of the day, it's giving yourself grace. Like it's all the things that we hear, but it's like, okay, let's actually do them though.
Putting it into practice.
Yeah, because that's even like when I was in school, they talk about compassion fatigue, and they talk about burnout. They talk about self-care. All they're doing is like talking about it. They're not really like And you're like,
practice, or saying, hey, here's the tools that you can
like,
use.
I want to see what your self-care routine is. Like, I want to see you doing it. But when you're in school, you're like, I'll like have so much more time after I graduate, because now I won't have to do papers, and I won't have to like go to class.
You don't know
and go to an internship for free. Like, it's like the first time I was in therapy I was in college, because I was like, I can't quit anything that I'm doing right now. Like, I just have to get through this phase of my life. Like, So, and I was working like a little part-time job for like little, for like some sort of money. Like it was just like anything. And so I was like, just so like leaning on those supports, leaning on, spiritual practices that just help you feel grounded. So whether that's meditating, whether that's breath work, tapping, Reiki, just being able to.
I love that as a therapist, you're talking about those alternative. I do that too. I try to be conscious of the breath work or the meditating, and talking about the problems, but I feel like all of it together.
Yeah. And it's getting, I think that's a part of why the pandemic was really hard for people, because it forced people to pause.
Yeah.
And they were like not ready. Yeah. They were not ready to pause.
When you sit still, if you're going all the time, and you sit still and you're like,
oh my God.
Literally.
Right. Like,
you're like,
it
can be scary. You start thinking about things, and then you start assessing, and then you start.
And you're forced to deal with it.
Right.
Yes.
Then you're like, I have to confront that.
And it's easy to just dissociate and scroll, like doom scroll, and just, ignore it all. Like, but it's, it's like really just like getting into, because then you might recognize like what's not making you happy, or like what, like this isn't where I want to be right now.
Like so
how can I get there?
I was just going to say that.
So, I think
change
just
could be good. It's scary.
It is scary.
But
it is scary.
Yeah.
It's scary, but amazing.
Yes.
Right? Like so much good can come out of it. And then it gives you this idea like, oh, wait, I could do this.
Yeah.
Even though it's scary, I did something hard. And even if it pans out, you learned from it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't pan out, you learn from it. If it does, excellent.
Yeah.
Go to the next. And you get that.
Pivoting is okay.
Yeah. I have to do better, and I'm working on that, of getting better, of like celebrating my accomplishments and staying in the present for that too. Because I'm like, oh yeah, I wrote a book. And I'm like, oh, like, you know, like, and like people hear and like, that's great. That's so cool. And I'm like, that's old news. Like, you know, like, that's the next thing, you know? So just like reminding and staying in that power and, you know, really celebrating those wins, celebrating
you have to sometimes sit down and think about what you've done so far. And like, oh shit, wow.
Yeah. Like the first time I put together like my media kit of just like the workshops I can offer and, you know, all these things, I'm like, I'm pretty badass. Like, you know?
You are.
You do workshops for companies.
I do,
right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So I've done insights and analysis for big brand names, and so really assessing the level of burnout for their staff. You know,
incredible.
Their ability to practice like self-care while at work. Of course, like they don't want to see that on company time, but I'm asking for like 30 seconds or like 5 minutes, you know, throughout their day. So like to just pause and to just like, okay, let's gather our thoughts. Let's reassess. Let's, you know, helping the surveying the staff of like, are you even aware of what your companies are providing? Like what the benefits are, you know? Like I want them to use whatever's actually out there. And they might even see like, oh, maybe we don't need to keep paying for this meditation subscription because no one actually wants that meditation subscription or they don't want, you know,
they want money, just an FYI. Just an FYI, companies, they want more money.
Yes.
And mental health support. Yeah. More money helps.
More money. Absolutely. You know, doing one little workshop for the month of May for mental health awareness isn't going to be enough. So, you know, just really, really surveying that and really just, and then being able to offer opportunity of being able to train, you know, supervisors on how to have more productive and open mental health conversations and finding that support. Another avenue in tying in like the special needs piece is like just that like recognition of like chances are your member who like is raising a child with special needs or caring for an elderly adult, like the last thing they want to be doing is calling out of work right now. But like chances are they're at the hospital or chances are they're, you know, like their life is not that they're not on the beach somewhere. Like they're not just like BSing and blowing things off. Like the last thing they want to be doing is that. So like it's, you know, just kind of extending a little bit more compassion even to those families, but then just to like people in general, right? Just being more compassionate, you know, employees and employers. So
we have no idea what's going on in other people's world.
Exactly.
Where can we find you? Are you on social media?
Everywhere. Find me everywhere.
We're going to link everything too, but you know.
I think my Instagram is probably my most fun, or of course if you want to join my Facebook group, and you don't have to be a special needs parent, just as long as you're in support of the initiative and wanting to build more of that inclusivity, you know, we would love to have you. So the Facebook group again is Central Jersey Special Needs Community, and my Instagram is my name, so Lena Suarez Angelino.
That's awesome. Lena, you are amazing.
Yeah, you're an inspiration, girl. Seriously.
Thank you. I always say, like, I really like new projects, and I like, you know, so if you have ideas, and, you know, I love to kind of like tailor and curate things that, you know, fit your needs, and, you know, and so if there's workshops that you have in mind, I've been doing them for schools and stuff too.
Oh, so, I love that.
Yeah, so it's been really, really fun. Yeah.
Awesome. And the emotional intelligence. Yeah, is so true.
Sure. There.
I passed the test.
Yeah. People like you in the world. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Bye. Thanks.